Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This time it is Comic Book Upgrades Part 4. I haven't done a video like this in a while, so it's going to be fun going over some of the books I was able to upgrade over the last half year. So let's get started. Starting off with X-Men 28, the first appearance of Banshee. This was a book that I bought not this particular copy, but the first appearance of Banshee has been in my collection since I first started collecting in '93. And I had a really horrible copy. It was a Pence copy, and that's not what I mean by horrible, but it was so low grade. It had, someone took a black grease pen and colored in half of the X. It was just in really bad shape. But back then, that's all I could afford, you know. I didn't have that much money. So I upgraded that book a couple years ago, actually. So a nice, what grade did I grade this? Nice 6.0 copy. Much better than the copy I had years ago. Here we have Journey into Mystery 102, the first appearance of Hela and Sif. Anyway, I had a copy about 2 years ago. It was detached at the top staple, and around that time I sold it because the book was going for some money. It was before Ragnarok came out, and so it was kind of pricey, but I always wanted to get this book again, and I wanted to get a better copy. So after the movie had come out, after this book started to cool off, I found this copy, which is probably a 5.0 copy, maybe even a 5.5, for a pretty good price. So I brought it back. Here's another book that I upgraded. I had several copies of this book, Haunt of Fear 22. This one particular story, the cover story, Wish You Were Here, which I think is also I think it's the first story. I haven't cracked this book open in a while, but anyway, the first story, or the cover story, whatever, Wish You Were Here, was in the Tales from the Crypt movie that came out from Amicus back in 1972. Like I said, I had several copies of this book over the years, all real low grade. So one of my favorite places to buy comics online had this copy. It's probably a solid 4.0. It's got a little bit of tape up here, but other than that, it's really nice. Had this for sale, and I decided to buy it. Now here's another copy here's another book that I had ever since I started collecting in '93. It was actually one of the first sets of comic books that I got. I had a copy of this, and it was an 8.0, maybe even an 8.5 copy. But I said, you know what, I could do better, and I think I did. This is a 9.4 copy of Uncanny X-Men 266, the first full appearance of Gambit. Not much more to say about that book. I've always liked Gambit. Here's another one. This was in one of my recent comic book hauls. A book I bought at the New York Comic Con a copy rather. In 2017, it was a 1.5 CGC. It was a 1.5 because a page in the book, half of it was completely ripped out and had brittle pages, so that's why they gave it a 1.5. So I was able to get another copy, a nice 4.0 copy, at the very least maybe a 3.5. I'm thinking it's a 4.0. We'll find out when I do an off to CGC. 4.0 copy of Tales from the Crypt number 20. It took a while for me to get this book again. You know, I sold that copy not long after I had purchased my original copy, because I was like, well, it's a 1.5. I'm trying to raise money for, Amazing Fantasy 15, and I sold it. But I kind of regretted it, but it took a while to get this copy, and I'm just glad I was able to find it in this nice shape for the price I paid. I paid practically nothing for it, which I was really surprised. But that's why sometimes you got to watch out. People sell these things on Facebook. You can't always rely on eBay. And sometimes you can't even rely on going to conventions because people want a lot of money for them, or they don't even have them. Another one that was on one of my recent comic book hauls that I was able to upgrade, Amazing Spider-Man 15, the first appearance of Kraven the Hunter, second appearance of the Chameleon, and the first mentioning of Mary Jane. A lot going on in this book. Really, to me, it's a lot nicer looking than a 4.0, but it got a 4.0 in my opinion because of the water damage at the bottom corner. it goes through every wrap all the way to the back cover. That's why I think it got a 4.0 instead of a 5 or a 5.5. But who knows? That's just my opinion. Anyway, I had a 2.0, 2.5 copy of this. You know, the cover was barely on. It was on, but it was barely hanging on the staples. Had a bit of a spine split. Not a big one, but it had a spine split. So it wasn't the best copy. I gave it a 2.25. It was nice to finally get this copy, a nice 4.0. I usually like collecting 4.0s. And speaking of 4.0s, it brings us to another 4.0. Amazing Spider-Man 14, the issue right before the 15. This is the first appearance of the Green Goblin. My first copy I had since 1994. I got for $30, and it was in really bad shape. The only video that I have where I showed that copy was about maybe 5 years ago. I made the top 25 comics in my collection. It's a real old video. Surprisingly, it has the most views out of all my videos, and you know, the quality of it is not that good, but it has the most views. But anyway, in that video, occasionally I show my original copy of Amazing Spider-Man 14, so you can see how different that book is from this one. And the last one for this video, I had a 7.0 copy, or at least I think it would have been a 7.0 after a press. I had it. I sold it to get my Incredible Hulk #1, and I said I'd always get this book back because I liked the book. And I did, and made quite an upgrade on it. In Invincible Iron Man #55, we all know this is the first appearance of Thanos, but it's also the first appearance of several other characters, including Drax the Destroyer, the Blood Brothers, Star Fox, Kronos, and what's the other one's name? Mentor? Yeah, a lot of people, but most importantly because of Thanos and Drax. Managed to get a nice 8.5. Got this at the same store, the same time I got my Amazing Spider-Man 15 from my local comic book guy. So it was really cool to finally bring this back. And it's funny, I sold my original copy of Iron Man 55 to him as he helped me get the Amazing Fantasy. So that's it for comic book upgrades part 4. I'll have a part 5 coming soon, and then after part 5 it might take a while again as I slowly upgrade more books in my collection. I hope you tune into that video as well. Thank you for watching. Take care.